Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We want to welcome you back to another episode of the Snob OS Show. This is episode 303 of our show. So we definitely want to thank all those, whether you've been hanging out for the longest or if you're pretty new. Definitely thank you back for the show. Thank you for rocking with us. For those who have been rocking with us long enough to become a financial supporter, definitely want to send a shout out to them because they help us keep the lights on. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast. Join the community, get some free content, get some exclusive content that you won't hear on this actual show, and join our Discord community. So we definitely want to thank all those who are a part of our snobist community, and definitely appreciate it if you decide to join as well. So as per usual, we're always going to get into the first segment of the show. This is the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. So we've got a couple of things that is, I guess, common with what's going on in the world right now as far as this new administration as it relates to Apple and Tim Cook and all those things. So the first thing I want to get into, I titled this, Does Apple Think Trump is a Racist? So basically what happened is there is a bug, or so they say, to where if you are using dictation on your phone and you say something that has like Trump in it, like if you say have a sentence, look up the latest, whatever as it relates to Trump. Some people were reporting that Apple would automatically replace Trump in your sentence that you spoke and convert that to text as racist. So
Interesting.
yeah. So Apple says Apple said it will fix an iPhone bug that replaced the word racist with Trump when dictating text messages. So this is only when you're dictating text messages, not looking up Google. This is not typing it, talking in a note or anything like that. Just when you're dictating text messages and you mention the word Trump, Apple was auto completing that to racist. Like again, decide decide if you want whether that's a bug or a feature. But nevertheless, Apple promised to fix the bug after it went viral on social media and an issue appeared to have been resolved this past week. So by the time you're listening to this, unless you want to try it, Apple has already fixed it. But earlier this week, maybe even weeks or months prior to that, they have noticed this bug. So I just wanted to get your take. Do you think this was a common mistake, or do you think somebody at Apple was being sneaky? And then how does that play with Tim Cook or Apple trying to, on a lower level, kind of jockey for position as far as all the stuff that's going on into this administration?
So if you say Trump, then it types racist, or if you say racist, it types Trump.
The first one, the former. So if you were typing to a text message and said, I'm going to this Trump rally, Apple would autocomplete it to I'm going to this racist rally.
Apple intelligence at work.
I guess so. Machine learning. This is a prime example.
That's what natural language processing is. That's what large language models do. If you want to say all the buzzwords, sounds like
it got it from somewhere. It didn't pull it out of thin air.
Again, it sounds like Apple Intelligence is working the way it's supposed to.
Right.
To be.
Yeah. So again, of course, some people ran up the red flag, and Apple made sure they would fix that. But again, is it a bug or is it a feature? Like you mentioned, with all the machine learning and the large language models and all that stuff, the sentiment sounds like it is amongst all iPhone users is the commonality. So, Apple sounds like they had to go in and correct something that, artificial intelligence ran with. So,
you know what they probably had to do? Because again, that's what large language models and that's what natural language processing is.
Mm-hmm.
It sees a trend
Sure.
and then it says, oh,
You must
this is
mean.
what this is.
Right.
So this equates to this. The same way when you're typing something and
Mm-hmm.
you get the prompt for the next word.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to me, it's Apple Intelligence is doing what it's supposed to do based
Right.
on what the natural language is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my guess is they probably, honestly, it would be hilarious, but if they had to go into the code and hard code it to
Mm-hmm.
say
I'm pretty sure
when
that's what they had to do.
when you see Trump, you don't type racist.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's something, I won't say something as simple, but something as I don't know what non-nuanced. I don't know what the word opposite of nuanced is, but I'm gonna say non-nuanced because I don't know. But that seems like the most straightforward, non-nuanced way to do it because again, when you're doing this natural language processing, you're seeing it continuously.
Mm-hmm.
When you say Trump, racist is in there pretty close.
Right.
So that's how it got there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's actually that gave me a little tickle. That was
Yep, yep,
enjoyable.
yep, yep. Apple Intelligence, hard at work apparently.
Hard at work.
All right. So the next story I titled this one "Tim Cook Blinks on DEI Initiatives at Apple." So earlier this
Oh,
week,
Tim.
I don't know. You tell me. Let me break it down. I'm gonna get your
Okay.
input. On earlier this week, Apple's shareholders voted down an attempt to pressure the company into scrapping its DEI initiatives, but CEO Tim Cook conceded that some policies may have to change under this current administration. However, following the vote, Cook said that the legal landscape around diversity and inclusion issues evolves, the company may need to make some changes to comply. So basically, what happened is everything started to roll out,
Mhm.
Apple, amongst some other companies, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, Apple was one of those companies that took a hard stance and
Mhm.
said, no, we are not scrapping DEI initiatives. We are proud of the work we've done.
Mhm.
These are all the benefits, yada, 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 so on and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So it seems like that pressure hasn't subsided. And now it's coming directly from the administration. And like I mentioned earlier, Apple, even though they took a hard stance against scrapping its DEI initiatives, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, did donate to the inauguration fund campaign or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Tim Cook was one of the faces who was at the inauguration with all the other tech bros, huddled up with them. So
Mhm.
while Apple is taking this hard stance. It seems like Tim Cook is like, let's try to hedge our bets a little bit. Or is it hedging their bets? And is Tim Cook signaling that they may have to, while not completely ditching DEI initiatives, they may have to change some stuff at the very least to make this current administration happy so they don't get burned for whatever reason. What's your take on Trump, on Cook actually saying, yeah, not so fast on this hard stance against any sort of DEI changes at Apple?
I'm so disappointed. I really
Okay.
am.
Okay.
I was really happy when they first came out and said that they weren't going to change any of their DEI practices. They,
Hmm.
along with several other large companies, saying that they weren't going to roll back. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad, even though Tim Cook showed up to those
Hmm.
meetings. He
Hmm.
showed up at the inauguration. He
Donated $1 million
donated
of his
personal
own
money.
money. Right.
Right. And I was like, okay, that's Tim Cook personally doing that. I
Okay.
don't like it, but he's a human being. He's a citizen of this country. He
Hmm.
is more than welcome to do what he wants. It shocked me a little bit because um, he said it many times, he is a gay man himself.
Sure.
And knowing how Trump gay people fall into this DEI
Hmm.
group, as we've all
Definitely
seen,
not excluded.
especially we've seen it already with the wildfires. Some of the women who were leading the firefighter organizations were
Mm-hmm.
lesbian, and they got with that DEI tag. Women flying the planes, they get the DEI tag. So it's one of those things where he's not. He may be a wealthy white man, but he's still, um, you know, he does fall into one of those quote unquote DEI
Sure.
categories.
Sure.
And so I was a little disappointed, but I was like, hey, that's his business. He can do that. But now that he's brought corporate,
Mm-hmm.
he's making corporate mandates. This isn't just him personally. He's making corporate mandates for $1 trillion company. To me, they had the hard stance and he blinked.
Sure.
So to me, even if they don't get rid of everything and say make some changes, he's blinked. So he's already gone back on that. Whether
Sure.
he changes something now or he says, you know what, we're not going to, he's already blinked. And
Right.
he's already given Trump the signal to say, I got you. And this is something that Trump can you say, see,
Wink, wink. Mm-hmm.
Even Tim Cook thinks that. Apple think he's not gonna say Tim Cook. Apple thinks that. Apple doesn't believe in DEI.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where um any type, any form of acquiescing to this administration
Mm-hmm.
is a definite ding, and he did blink.
Yeah.
And I think he may find out, similar to the way Target did, that now that Target shareholders are suing Target company
Mm-hmm.
because they lost almost $15 billion or $16 billion since they said they were rolling back their DEI stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
the shareholders like, wait a minute, you didn't tell us that this could potentially happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Apple already has a lot of money. They already have a lot of influence. I don't know if they're going to see those types of changes, but for me personally, it definitely gives me cause for pause. You know, I love Target, and I haven't been to Target since they changed those things. I'm
Right.
trying to find
Right.
out where do I buy paper towels from now? Where do I buy like dish soap from? You know,
Yeah.
where do
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get those things? Because for me, if you don't want my money, I mean, if you don't want to serve me, then you don't want my money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I feel. And again, I am disappointed
Yeah.
that Tim Cook has taken this route.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm taken aback a little bit as well. I can. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I kind of see what I'm speculating as to what Tim Cook is doing.
Hmm.
And even that, it's like it's pacifying.
Yeah.
And I don't even like that. I get it. Again, I'm not in control of a $3 trillion company, so I get
Hmm.
it. I can be on, one side of the fence or the other,
Hmm.
draw a line in the sand. Maybe it's not that easy for companies. Maybe Tim Cook, like I mentioned, is trying to quote unquote hedge his bets by saying, all right, we're not going to do this, but we'll do that. We're going
Yeah.
to stand firm on this, but we will comply with that. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, speculating as to that's where it's going, but this is like, personally, well, why we even got to do that? But
Yeah.
again, like I said, I don't have to answer to the president, so I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. And again, the last thing I'll say is once this administration is over, the stench of that the things that people are doing, the
Mhm.
stench that they're going to have for this, it's not going to go away just because he goes away.
Right.
You're going to get a perpetual side eye from a
Right.
bunch of people going forward,
Sure.
and you're going to carry the stink of him and the things that you did to placate him.
Hmm.
It's not going on away. You're gonna keep that, and there's no getting that off of you.
Yeah. Hopefully we remember, because we have shortest attention spans too. So hopefully we remember. All right. So the next story up, I titled this one, Apple invests in Houston. Apple said earlier this week it
Exit.
plans to build a 250,000 square foot server manufacturing facility in Houston by
Okay.
2026, creating thousands of local jobs. Apple's planned facility will be a manufacturing hub dedicated to making servers for Apple Intelligence, the company's in house artificial intelligence system, and private cloud compute services. So, the reason why I wanted to bring this story up is because there are a lot of companies who are flocking to Texas as
Mhm.
the state, because I'm assuming the governor, whomever
Tax breaks.
officials there, getting tax
Yeah.
breaks hand over fist. But what most companies are doing, Tesla, Facebook, they're moving to Austin, Texas.
Mhm.
That's quote unquote the tech hub
That's the
in
hip
Texas,
city. Yeah.
right? Versus Houston is more diverse. It's got more
Blackity
different.
black.
Yeah, it's got more black folks, and typically Houston is one of those forgotten states. Even though it's a big city, got millions of people there. People think of Dallas as far as the capital, and they think of
Mhm.
Austin as far as this
Mhm.
new tech hub, South by Southwest. Again, recently Tesla and Facebook, or Meta rather, have moved some of their companies or facilities or operations to Austin. So I wanted to get a hat tip to Apple for deciding to, if they're going to move to Texas and take advantage of these tax breaks or whatever else that entice them to go there, at least move to Houston. That will create thousands of local jobs for Texans who don't normally see that innovation when companies decide to move to Texas.
Yeah, Houston is very oil and gas.
Hmm.
That's the bread and butter in Houston. So this is an interesting move. I don't know if it's because Austin has become overrun.
Hmm.
They're saying, you know what, let's strike out somewhere else. But just like we said in the previous story, who they gonna hire if they getting rid of all the DEI stuff? They're not gonna be able to hire no black people.
Right. If they
They're gonna have
trying
to
to
ship
hold.
in people.
Right. So it will be interesting. Like I said, this is all while Trump isn't new, this everything that is going on or coming out of this current administration is new.
Mm,
And it seems like companies are swinging for the fences or throwing stuff to the wall to see what sticks, or again, like I said, just pacifying. So it'll be interesting to see, like you mentioned, the quote unquote stench as it relates to all of these changes, all these decisions that these companies are making during this current administration.
yep.
All right. So that is enough for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string, where we just talk tech in general. And I thought this was a interesting story that kind of pretty much just validates what I've been saying for years. It's NASA has weighed in on the should you or should you not turn off your smartphone, and if so, how often? According to the security experts at NASA, this alone, turning off your phone, helps you protect your device from some hijacking attacks. It is not only common to gain access to smartphones via malicious links, but also zero click exploits. So basically, what they're saying with that is, by turning off your phone, that's less time or less opportunities that people could actually hack your device. Because if it's running all day, if you've got code running in the background, malicious code running in the background, that's
Hmm.
running as long as your phone is on. But when you shut your phone off,
It
it
resets
stops
it.
those processes and those programs and may stop it from, taking whatever's left that it hasn't taken
That it
already.
hasn't gotten already.
Right. To add to that, the simple answer from security experts as to how often a phone should be turned off is at least once a week. And not just for the protection it provides. In addition to eliminating security risks, regular reboots also allow the smartphone's operating system to run all functions smoothly. So there you have it. It didn't come
Hmm.
from Brother Tech. I've been trying to tell y'all for years, turn off your phone once a week or turn it off every so often. Now you've got now I'm validated by NASA to turn that phone off.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you gotta, I would say, outside of other administrations, when the NSA tells you
Oh, and my
to
bad.
do
I'm sorry. I
something,
said
it's
NASA. I meant to
probably,
say NSA. My bad.
and I heard NSA. I didn't even hear NASA. I heard NSA. Uh, um, if these folks who are supposed to be, the leading
Brightest.
party, especially on the
Yeah.
government, from the government aspect, is saying, yeah, turn off your phones at least a week just to make sure that all your stuff isn't being got. Uh, you may want to follow that
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what they do.
Right. And Apple has made it, Apple specifically, because I'm an iPhone user. I'm not sure how easy it is with an Android or a Google phone, but Apple has made it easier to shut off your phone nowadays. Like if you swipe down from the right hand side on the control center, there is an off button at the top. You press and
Mhm.
hold it, it will turn your phone off. In addition to that, what I normally do is I just tell, homegirl, I'm like, hey, homegirl, restart my phone. And she says, are you sure you want to restart your phone? I say, yes. And then she restarts it. I don't got to press nothing. I ain't got to hold nothing. I ain't got to swipe nothing. I can just say, turn off my phone or restart my phone. And then she'll do the process to restart. So that's a little hookup. If you do want to turn your phone off, Apple specifically has made it a whole lot easier. Again, if anybody's out there listening, you're an Android user, make sure you let us know how easy it is to turn off an Android phone so we can share that good news as well.
And I take the lazy way out. When I see my phone is pretty low, I just let the battery die,
Just let the
and
back.
then that was it.
That's probably good as well. The science on that is still not perfect,
Mhm,
but I have heard that with battery cycles,
mhm.
you should charge it up, let it die. Charge it up, let it die. That does, according to what I've heard, extend the battery life. So there you go.
Mm. 2 hookups in 1.
Yep, right. All right, moving right along. That's going to do it for the second string. We're going to move into for the culture, where we talk anything culturally relevant. And we're starting off. Well, we're going to end the month off with another Teching While Black. So, Nika, tell us who's on Teching While Black this week.
In our last installment for Black History Month of 2025, we are going to wrap it up with Evelyn Boyd Granville. She became the second African American woman to ever earn a PhD in mathematics. She got hers from Yale University. After working in DC, using math to help develop missiles and fuses, she took on a role at IBM in the late 50s, and that launched her career at NASA. No, yeah, this launched her career going into NASA from working at IBM. And since she was a contractor with IBM at NASA at the time, so she was instrumental in her part of the Project Mercury missions, which was designing computer software that helped analyze satellite orbits. She also worked on the Apollo program in the early 60s before going back to IBM as a senior mathematician. She held a passion for education, a teacher in higher education, elementary schools, and also advocating for STEM education. And to put this in a little context, she is only the second African American woman to earn a PhD in mathematics, and she died in 2023.
Oh man, so just recently.
Recently, yep.
All right. All right. Well, shout out to Evelyn Boyd Granville to end our Teching While Black series. Thank you for that, Nika. So we're going to move on to our next subject. So I hinted at it earlier. There's a list going around that I saw this list from Time Magazine,
Mhm.
and they pretty much put out this list of companies who have publicly um, affirmed their DEI initiatives. Some of the companies, like we mentioned at the top, Apple has stood up and said, we're proud of the work we've done with the diversity, equity, inclusion. Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream folks, they said we believe that companies that timidly bow to the current political climate by attempting to turn back the clock will become increasingly uncompetitive in the marketplace and will ultimately be judged as having been on the wrong side of history. So,
And Ben
sh-
Jerry's been about this life from jump.
yeah. So, shout out to Ben and Jerry's. Some of the other companies: Costco, Delta Airlines, Francesca's. I'm not sure what that
Clothing,
is. I would assume so. Um,
good for them.
Basically, yeah, they say at Francesca's, we've built a culture where employees feel free to be you in all senses. Um, yeah. So JP Morgan and Chase, Lush, their cosmetics company, Microsoft has not made any moves to repeal its DEI policies, Patagonia, so on and so forth. Now we've
Is
also
Patagonia
heard
the coat people
either the
or
coat
no?
people or the jury people.
Outdoor apparel, they're the coat. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
they're the coat people. All right. So that's just a list of some of the companies who have decided that they're going to prop up or affirm, like I mentioned, their DEI initiatives.
Except for
We've
Apple, because apparently they're blinking, so we can strike them off.
right. So that's what I want to. So you mentioned Target,
Mhm.
who decided they're going to repeal their DEI initiatives and all the fallout from that. A couple other major
I
companies
think
that I can't.
Publix as well.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of these
Can't get
companies
Mr.
are
Publix
starting.
either.
Right, right. They're starting to roll back their initiatives, and it's causing quite a stir. So,
Mhm.
but I wanted to look at it from a different angle,
Okay.
specifically with like the targets, right? I'm wondering if some of these companies like Target and Apple on a smaller case, we mentioned Tim Cook said, we may have to change or whatever the case may be, right?
Mhm.
To comply for
Mhm.
compliance. I'm wondering if, keeping the word compliance in your mind, I'm
Mhm.
wondering if companies, specifically the companies who are quote unquote rolling back their DEI initiatives, I'm wondering if they are just rolling back the word or removing or scraping the actual word
Mhm.
DEI from their whatever the case may be, but they won't necessarily stop promoting, working towards diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. They just
Mhm.
ain't gonna call it DEI because that's now quote unquote a bad word. Similar
Mhm.
to critical race theory,
Mm.
similar
Don't hear nothing
to
about that no more.
right, similar to think of any word woke, right?
Woke.
Right, all of these words that now have turned into quote unquote bad words, it seems
Mhm.
like to me DEI is now one of those bad words. And I'm wondering if, and I want to get your take on this, I'm
Mhm.
wondering if companies are kind of like, all right, we're going to play the game and we're going to remove DEI from our websites, from our training manuals, from our commercials, but we really ain't going to do nothing about it. We're just going to remove the word so it looks like we're complying. I
Mhm.
wonder, do you think that could be some of the case, or do you really think, or do you really believe that a lot of these companies are just want to make sure that they are look good for the president so they can possibly get, you know, I don't know, favors, contracts, favorable, whatever the case may be.
So, I could see that. I could see them doing it for appearance's sake.
Hmm.
But here's the problem with that. Everything
Okay.
that Trump does is for appearance's sake.
Sure.
Even if you are going to continue with your DEI policies and you're going to call it something else, or you're going to
Hmm.
remove it from your site, by you meaning these companies
Hmm.
acquiescing to him and taking them off, you're playing right into the game that he's playing, because
Right.
it's all about the visuals. It's all about saying to other countries, saying to his supporters that, see, look what I did. I got them to
Right.
turn off. Because let's be honest, none of these people care about any of this stuff. They
Right.
don't
That's true.
they
That's
don't care
true.
about this stuff.
Sure.
They just like the way it sounds. They like the
Right.
way it looks. Because if
Hmm.
we're being honest, the highest beneficiary of affirmative action are white women.
Right.
That's a proven fact.
Sure.
So a lot of these Trump supporters are white women. The same with the stuff with, SNAP benefits, the same with Obamacare. They're
Hmm.
all up
Medicare,
against it.
Medicaid.
Medicaid,
Mhm.
yeah, entitlements, take that back, until they realize
Sure.
that's what you're getting, sweetheart. That what you're against. You're getting that. It's not entitlement.
Hmm.
You've paid into Social Security.
Right.
So the things that you are going against, the things that you
Hmm.
say you're opposed to, you're for, but you're actually not. So that's why I
Right.
say, and that's why I said earlier, the stench, even the mere appearance of impropriety, even if you don't have any impropriety, even if you're still going to keep up with your affinity groups. You're still going to make sure that you hire individuals from underrepresented groups. Even if you keep doing all that, you've signaled to the populace at large that, yeah, we're going to do what he says,
We're
because
going to
that's what it
comply.
looks like you're
Right.
doing. And
It looks
how
like
am
you're
I supposed
complying.
to know? Right. How am I supposed to know that you're going to wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Yeah, we're taking it off, but we're still going to do it. How am I supposed to know that? I'm not supposed to know that. I'm actually applying for jobs and stuff, and I don't fill in any of the questions, not
Mm-hmm.
my race, not my gender, whether I have a disability or the military. I put do not
Or
choose choose
non-applicable.
choose not to disclose on all of
Right.
them,
Right.
because you never know
Sure.
who is down for the cause or who is fronting or who really hates people that don't look like them.
Right.
So to me, even though you're doing this as a publicity stunt or to acquiesce or to make it seem like you're doing it just to
Right.
placate this guy, it doesn't matter. It still has the same effect of whether
Right.
of you doing it or not. If you're
Mm-hmm.
saying you're doing it, people are going to believe what you say.
Right. So my issue with, even if, let's just say for argument's sake, that's what these companies are doing. They're
Mhm,
like, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Sure,
mhm,
sure, sure. We'll comply. Sure.
mhm.
But we still gonna do what we want to do anyway, right?
Right.
I equated to a mistress on February 13th, right? Your man, his wife has decided, all right, this is what we doing for Valentine's. And the husband is like, all right, well, that's what we got to do. But he's telling the mistress on the side, like, hey, I still got you. It just won't be on the 14th. It'll
Mhm,
be on February 13th, or it'll be on
mhm,
February 15th,
mhm,
or the week after that, March 1st. I'll hook you up.
mhm,
Just keep it on the low. Maybe that's
mhm.
good for some mistresses, but for me, I don't want to be loved in the dark. I
Nope.
want you to love me with,
Out loud.
out loud, out in public. I'm not going to be sitting on the sideline. I'm not going to be no side piece. I'm not going to be somebody you quietly love from the shadows. You know what
Or
I'm
saying,
saying?
I just gotta do we really not together, but we gotta keep up appearance's sake for the
Right.
kid.
Nope. Nope. I'm not.
Nah,
I
get
am
outta
not built.
here.
I'm not built for mistress life, and
You're
so
not built
much
for
so.
it.
Right. And to make matters worse, this is like, all right, well, how do you feel about me, as a
Mm,
person, who is a minority, you
mhm,
know, um, that, anybody that comes along and says, oh, we don't like that, you quickly jump on that, versus if I have some things that I want you to increase your diversity. I want you to increase your minorities on the board, and I want you to increase the amount of kids from HBCUs you hire. You
mhm.
like, yeah, sure, 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 sure. We'll,
Sure,
throw you
sure,
a little
sure.
bone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But when, somebody else comes along, you quick to jump at them. It's like, all right, so is that how you really feel? You can, you just taking me for granted. I don't
right,
want to be taken for granted,
right.
So even if that is the case, it's like, all right, why don't you want to fight for me
Mhm,
as hard, or equally as hard, as you are quick to acquiesce to
mhm,
whatever anybody else says, right? Yes, I get it. I'm just a regular customer, versus this the coming from the office of the president of the United States. Sure, I get it. I get it. But at the same time, am I your customer, or is the
Is
administration your
he?
customer?
Yeah.
Who is your customer? You
Who are you serving?
claim you care about customers, you claim you care about the community, but do you really? But do
Yeah.
you really?
And the thing is, when this guy is out and say a liberal president gets back in and reverses all this stuff, you're gonna be like, yeah, Black History Month,
Yeah, right.
Women's Month, gay
Black History
rights. Are you gonna
355, it's
yeah, are you
365. Listen.
yeah, are you just gonna come back? No, You
Right.
stay over there. You planted your flag over
Mhm.
there. So you stay over there. Don't come back over here. Stay over there.
Mhm.
And that's the
Yep.
thing, wishy-washy. You can't keep flip-flopping. And again, you lose credibility with
Sure.
your customers if
Sure.
you just free flow whichever way the wind blows. It says that you don't have a backbone. You don't have standards. You don't have morals. You don't have um you don't have any guts about you.
Right.
You just
And
kinda go where the
but
wind blows.
but maybe this is a wake up call for people, for
Mhm.
customers,
To see people to
because
see companies for who they are.
for they are just cash cows, and they're going to do whatever to
Get the
increase
money.
profitability
Yeah.
and decrease overhead. You
Yep.
are just a line item on a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet.
These companies do not care about you. They do not care about your feelings. All they care
Mm-mm.
about is how much money you are giving them. And hopefully,
Feelings aren't facts, as
right.
they say.
Right. So hopefully this is a wake up call for customers, for people who decide they change how and when and who they support. Up
Mhm.
until now, for the most part, it's been, oh, I need this, like you said, I need paper towels. Who's the closest? Who's the cheapest? Right?
Mhm.
Those are the two factors. How fast can I get it and how cheap can I get it? Right?
Mhm.
Maybe this is a wake up call to people who start to say, all right, I need to get some paper towels, but first, let me find out, who has done this or who has supported that. And maybe that starts to shape how we support some of these companies,
Yeah.
not necessarily just buy black, but flat out. If you're going to a gas station and you don't like how they supported the change from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, maybe you just go across the street. Maybe it's just as simple as going across the street to the other guy, and little changes like that
Mhm.
probably is what companies are scared of most. But I don't think that they think that we've
That
got the
we're gonna do it.
gumption to do it right
Well,
now. We need to do
I
it.
think they're starting to see the thing with Target, with the shareholders
Hmm.
now suing the company. I
Right.
think they might be saying, wait a minute." And for me, as a one-person household, now I had to go to Costco and buy what will ultimately be like 6 months worth of, dish
Mayonnaise.
detergent, or for, paper towels. I got
Right.
paper towels for a year on one visit. So,
Right.
you know, it's those types of things. And I really hope, I know it won't be everybody because people like convenience. They don't like to be inconvenienced. And I'll be
Right.
the first one to say that is me. I will pay for convenience.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm really hoping that as a populace, we could start to say, you know what, this is not right.
Sure.
And there are other places that I can get these things. They may be more out of the way. It may take a little bit more effort. But you know what? I'm willing to do that because
Hmm.
it's a very slippery slope. We are barreling towards the abyss really quickly. And I don't know what part of this we're going to have to hit for people to be like, oh shit, this
Hmm.
is really bad.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know where, I don't know what that, break point is, but
Right.
I hope people see it sooner rather than later before it goes to a point of no return.
No
But
return. Yep. Yep.
time will tell, I guess.
Yep, yep. We got at least 4 years to find out where this train is going, right?
Right.
All right. So enough of that. We're moving on to the hookup. Every week I do a little tip for Apple fans or not. This one is for Apple fans or specifically anybody. It doesn't have to be Apple, but specifically with Apple, we're starting to see a lot of text messages, phishing attempts to
Mhm.
where it looks like, or on first appearance, it appears as if Apple is sending you a text message saying that your Apple ID is locked. You're locked out. And for those who are Apple fans, your Apple ID is your fingerprint to all
That's
of
your
your
social
Apple.
security card.
Right, right. That is your Apple Social Security card. That's your Apple passport. So you need your Apple ID to be in good standing with Apple, right? So I can see how people would panic a little bit if they
Mhm.
got a message saying your Apple ID is locked. Click this link to log in and whatever the case may be. I saw this story from PC World. They've got this whole list of all these things you should do. Turn off your phone. You should make sure that um, and I got the wrong link. I'll make sure to put the right link in there. But this whole list says turn on two-factor authentication, turn on advanced device protection. Um,
Except for you
again,
in the UK.
say
No
what?
more I said except for if you're in the UK, no advanced protection for you.
Right, right, right. But the story listed all these things of what you should do to protect yourself from a phishing scam. So I looked at that list and said, look, all those things you should do, but I'm just going to give you the top two things. And we've talked about it before on
Mhm.
this show, but I want to reiterate it because we were sitting in our house and my daughter was saying, she's reading this text message kind of, facetiously
Mhm.
saying, oh, They want to make sure that I've signed up for, I forget what it was,
Mm,
and my wife was like, all right, just look at where it came from. Does that look
mm.
like it came from that company? And my daughter looks at it and like, yeah, it's like Bob's Burgers at gmail.com telling you, you know what I'm saying? So I've broken out all of those lists into the top two things you need to do. And the first one, like I mentioned, just look at the sender. Before
Mhm,
you click on anything, before you do anything, just click on the sender and look at their email address. Does
mm,
that look like an email address from somebody that's sending you something as important as to log in right now to make sure your Apple ID is unlocked? Probably
mhm,
not. That's the first one. The second one is don't click the link in the text message. If you feel like your Apple ID has been locked, don't click the link in the text message. Go to your computer, go into a browser on your phone, go to apple.com, log into your account that way, and then verify to make
mhm.
sure your Apple ID isn't locked. Because the whole point of the text message, the whole point of a phishing scam is to
Get you to click on the
get you
link.
to click on that link. Once you click on the link, that
Take you
starts,
anywhere.
executes
Yep,
everything, right? So
yep.
those are the top two things. Look at the sender, make sure the sender is a legit sender, or it looks like it. I mean, you can tell they be spelled backwards. It'd be apples.com instead of apple.com, or it'd be apple at Gmail, Microsoft.com. Look at that, and then don't click on the link. Even if it is from legit, I don't click on nothing from my email.
I don't click on no links. Even when I request a link, they
Right.
send it to me. I was like, okay, so whatever I reset is done. I'm going to go directly to my
Mhm.
browser and type it in myself. I don't trust none of these links.
Yep.
And if you have an Apple device, when you communicate with Apple, their iMessage looks different
It turns
than all
gray.
the other. It turns gray. So that's how
Mhm.
you know you're talking with an official Apple person.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So that is my hookup for the week. If you are concerned about a phishing scam to where they're claiming your Apple ID is locked, look at the sender. Don't click the link. All
Perfect.
right. So
2
that
cents.
is going to do it for this week's show. Nika, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere, except for this week because I'm not on social media.
All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BrothaTech. If you want to interact with the show, if you want to join our Patreon, if you want to send us a message, email, chat, whatever the case may be, please go to snoboscast.com. We have all of our information on our website. And until next week, we're out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.